Welcome to Tech Driven Business. In this second episode with Torsten Welte and Jason Shearer of SAP, we talk about the power of SAC and Terms Dashboard and why it is a natural fit for companies of all sizes. The combined business and technology focused approach allows for listeners to get a complete picture of how this SAP Analytics solution can immediately provide value. So welcome back, Torsten and Jason. How are you guys?
Good, thank you. It was good to be back.
Doing great.
Awesome. So today we are going to dig deeper from our last session, where our listeners really want to learn more about how the Terms Dashboard can help small businesses, and both, and when I say small, I mean small and medium-sized businesses, basically overcoming obstacles in their analytics journey. How does that sound?
Sounds great.
Yep. Looking forward to it.
Awesome. Okay, great. So Jason, I'll start with you. So can you explain how the out-of-the-box KPIs work? My understanding is normally a business, would have data and you create dashboards on top of that data. With Terms, my understanding is there's no building of dashboards at all. Is that right? Can you explain that in more detail, please?
Oh, yeah. It's a really different concept, too, because I come from big companies where, it's fairly, you'd hire some people to build dashboards for you. But I was a business analyst and I spent a lot of time kind of looking at the different data sets. You'd get all of these MBAs, you'd get all these business process experts, and they'd know how to put stuff in Excel. It was almost just the magic, to build the dashboards. And then you've got to get somebody that both knows the data and knows design, which is kind of hard. It's kind of a unique sweet spot. But almost anybody can dump, their finances out of QuickBooks. They keep track of the line items that they've purchased in a simple format. With Terms, we give you a template. It's fairly easy whether you're using a big fancy, ERP, SAP, or one of our competitors or friends, let's say. So no matter what you use, we've got a format, you put it in there and everything is out of the box. So 21 KPIs covering your cash, covering your financial performance, covering your customer, covering manufacturing, even covering safety. They're all there out of the box. If you want to drill down, let's say I've got 10 different products I want to track. Let's say I've got 2 separate plants I'm working, and maybe one of the plants is my house and one's my buddy Gene's. However you're running your business now, you can. It gives you that drill down for those products. It'll give you predictive forecasts based on whatever data set you put into it. So like I said, if I've got 5 products, it's one line item per each in the spreadsheet. Just follow the template, and you've got a customized forecast for your product, for your customer, for your work locations, for anything that you throw into the system. Like I said, normally we've lived in this world where I've got to do all of that myself. I've got to design these things. Now you don't. Now it's on your iPad, on your phone in minutes when you match our template. It seems like a small thing, but especially for a company that doesn't know how to build dashboards or have those resources, it's actually huge.
Yeah, and to the point that Jason just brought up, a lot of the mid-market companies, they don't have big IT staff, right? They're operating very much out of Excel spreadsheets and gobble things together. Then they have to think how these KPIs work, how they interact with each other, and they look at it from a silo perspective. So with Terms, what we really wanted to achieve is the overview across the company. Number one. Number two is really that you don't have any requirement of a system in the background. You just take the Excel spreadsheet, load it up. If you do it manually, if you have other systems, you can move it in. You can later on connect it to your live systems too, if you want to. But the effort typically in a project is number one, what's the data? Then putting the data model in place. Then from the data model, right, do the calculations, then the visualization. All of that stuff, it just takes time and effort and resources. And what we said, why not just building something that's a great starting point, or for some companies, just adopt it and use it, right? It gets you at least 80, 90% there, and you can run instead of really recreating all of this, right? We spent 3-4 weeks as a team, not full time, but as a team to build these things, just to make sure that from a consistency, we're all there. From a perspective of documenting in it, it's all there. So it took us probably a little bit longer than a normal company would, if they would just grade it for themselves. But we thought if we get a kickstart of this, it just allows companies just to collect the data, put it in, start using it, and downloading it out of the content store.
Yeah. Isn't it funny, Torsten? I've got, we released this in February, and it great project, fun. We felt like we were really helping a lot of people with it, and in the smaller markets and the smaller companies. But I've been pulled into so many conversations with large customers who are all like, "Wait a minute, SAP's willing to say these are the 21 KPIs for Aerospace," and they're like, "That's interesting. Okay, let's talk about it." And we've gotten to a lot of interesting conversations about which KPIs are really the best ones, and kind of the whole Moneyball, sabermetrics behind running a business. It's an interesting time to be in the middle of this. And, you come in, I'm one of the big players. I can use these same KPIs. And they're like, well, don't use the spreadsheet. We can hook it directly into whatever systems you have. But the color coding is there. The, color coding for red I call them stoplights. They're red, yellow, and green for everything. We've got it set based on our industry analysts and Patriot, where you should be in each of these KPIs. And that's the real interesting story for a lot of them, is because a lot of people don't publish that. It's kind of a secret sauce, what's really good when it comes to overtime. And it's a little bit different for every company. With the SAC piece, I'm kind of an analytics cloud nerd. So I've built this new thing where you can move these sliders, and these sliders interact with several back-end calculations in a unique way, so that it makes it super easy. I say, hey, our on-time delivery should be 82% now because we've made some process improvements. You move the slider, you hit save, it's done. With Patriot, with some of this other stuff, you can really go in and talk to industry experts who can help you align your KPIs to really what they should be. And even then, they say, hey, we've got a drought that we're facing. We know we're not going to get any orders for 6 months. How does that change it? You can align those KPIs based on that analysis. Where else can you do that as a small, 2, 3, 4 person business? But also, where else are you going to find the capability to give this to your suppliers to say, hey, you guys, I really need to be able to rely on you. Here's a cheap, easy, out of the box way that you can align yourself to KPIs, you can forecast, you can do all of these things that big modern companies can. Take, all of this expertise, all of this cloud capability that SAP has, and scale it down to a shoestring for anybody. That's a huge story to the big boys, the big vendors, as well as the small ones.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that brings me to my next point. I want to kind of get your feedback on this, Jason. So let's say I'm a small company, right? And most small companies don't even know, the word SAP, or they don't. And every time they see SAP, they see big dollar signs, right? So why would I use Analytics Cloud versus other analytics solutions, that are available? And I'll put a little twist to this question. This conversation, basically, by you convincing me, as I'm also, my organization, we are a small business, even though we are SAP partners, but as a small business owner myself, why would I use Analytics Cloud as my tool of choice?
Okay. I think it's always the first tool you should use. There's good reasons for it, right? Yeah. So, and anybody else, I'm running data through a traditional x86 computer. From a computer science perspective, that's silly. HANA, SAP's proprietary in-memory database, has the ability, and it's the backend for SAC. It has the ability to take data streaming from anywhere combine it in real time, and run a predictive algorithm against it. So we're not only talking about data that I can download in Tableau, or what's the limit, 10 gig or whatever. We're not only talking about these small data sets, we're talking about big data too. Data that's living in big systems. So I start with Analytics Cloud. I get the predictive stuff out of the box, which is great. I get the ability to connect to anything, Google, my cloud drives, and pull everything together into a dashboard in real time. I get all of that, but then I can look at my landscape. I can put anything else I want under the hood. I can put any other applications. As I grow, I need supply chain. I can use SAP and I'll get huge benefits for it, but I can use anything else. My dashboards don't change. I don't have to move. I don't have to ETL. I become far more efficient as a company. So yeah, small business, be able to see what's on the horizon. And as I get bigger, I just start plugging things in, and that is my IT infrastructure. If I'm a bigger company that's already doing this, I can look at all of my data. I can combine it together with SAP's business technology platform. And I always like to say, Analytics Cloud isn't really an analytics tool. It's a suite of capabilities that live on the cloud that enable HANA to be beamed right to your browser. So I'm passing the middleman. I'm passing any of those architectural constraints that slow me down, and living in HANA as a computer through a thin client with all of the capability for maps, all of the capability for planning, all of the capability for predictive. Once some of these small companies start playing with the planning tool, that Bark's #1 rated planning tool on the planet, to look at costing, to look at allocations, to do financial planning, to do consolidations, to do any of these things that pretty much every company does at some level, it's going to transform the way they do business, period.
Right. Now, just to add what Jason said, to take it maybe also into the business world, right? If you look at it, what SAC does or brings to the table, or SAP brings to the table, is the fact that we understand the business processes. We understand the data models behind it, right? So just from a DNA perspective, we already have an understanding of the world of business, if it's manufacturing or other areas. That's why we have such a big focus on industries. So we can bring that element to the discussion in our products, right? So they're tuned towards the industry view to run a business and to do those kind of things. So therefore, to bring in not just analytics, but it's the insight that SSE brings that maps it back to actions, right? And that's the critical part. To find the needle in the haystack is one thing, but what to do with it, that's the next part. And that's the big element of capabilities that are in SAC or in SAP, right, that you will find are super, super interesting. If it's the stuff that Jason said, the forecasting pieces or the predictive elements, right, they are, they're there, and then you can take actions out of it. You can, route the stuff to the next person. You can influence your order quantities, all those kind of things. That the actions out of it, and to connect it to a next system that can take that as a transaction and to move off of it. That's the real big piece. And also the fact to understand of how do I prioritize my work, right? Prioritize my business and prioritize my work. That's the big part for a lot of businesses, because they need to run efficiently. And today, a lot of people just doing the normal jobs because that's how they did it before. Now with COVID, everything is put in an upside down. Now you have to really focus on it. Which parts are missing? Which customer should I start at first, right? If I get that information, if I have a shortage of parts, who am I going to call first as a customer that they get their shipment? How much are they going to get? Get the full shipment, a part shipment? Because I want to be much, evenly distributed to everyone. Can they live with it? Having that information, how many parts you can ship is one piece, but how do you then connect it then to the next set of creating the shipments and all those kind of things. That's really there's a lot of power of the SAC and the SAP world that really comes together.
I totally agree with you guys on that. I mean, I bring this background, where I use so many different planning and forecasting tools over my career myself, and I see SSC as a blending tool. It almost brings in, you have the predictive capabilities, you have the planning capabilities, and your business intelligence built in. So I think it just I see it as a package solution, especially when you are a small, medium-sized business. You can definitely get real value out of it real quick. I'm sorry, Jason, you were saying something? You want to add
Oh
something?
no, I was just going to go on. My wife always tells me not to go on about Moneyball. Have you guys seen the movie Moneyball?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm reminded, when Torsten talked about decision making, because we keep telling people all the time they can do better decision making, give them a lot of reasons why. But Moneyball always seems so fierce to me because, you find one KPI that nobody else knows about, right? One KPI. That's what the machine learning does. It seeks out these KPIs, but you can operate on a shoestring compared to your competition if you know the right KPIs. And that's all that it comes back to. I mean, here, compared to anybody else running without those 21 KPIs, you've got a clear advantage. And then as you start getting into the data with the machine learning, that it guides you through, it handholds you through, you can find out that one KPI that means you can dominate. I just get so excited by the topic.
Yeah, but I think to your point, Jason, that the critical part is to understand what get the data point. That's one thing, but if you have that piece of information, if you don't translate it into actions, then you're still not on the right track. And that's the key part, right? Most of the analytics tools that are out there, are just getting you that information, and then you have to do 5, 6 other more steps to get it into actions, right?
Oh, you're right. And it's like, what does this new KPI mean? It's like, I don't know, but the machine does. The machine knows what it means in the context of all of my other KPIs. So it can help me optimize without me learning data science, without me having to learn anything. It's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. So Torsten, how does this terms, fit into the overall industry strategy? What is next? Can you just dive into that?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that Jason and I and the team were debating is truly, first of all, we want to get this dashboard out to as many suppliers in the supply base as possible, because we think what we build is a great start and great help. Number one, right? Number two, what we want to do next is truly to not only get them excited about the dashboards, but help them in a way to set themselves up to the next level, right? Have this as a starting point. So the next level after that is, how can they connect it to their own systems, right? Provide more connectors out of the box in it to do those things. The other piece is bring maybe other KPIs in that we learn throughout the process that are maybe critical. But the other piece that we're really aiming at is to see if we can do more of the interaction with the data, building more of the data stories so that companies can interact, or not companies, but people of the companies can interact with the data. The managers, right? The COOs, the CEOs, the owners of the companies, right? That they can really interact with those. Because in today's world, most people think of analytics as you go over to the IT and they write a report to specific requirements, and that's it, right? But at the end, where you want to get to is what Jason did in a project a couple of years ago, which resulted in a product called Inscribe, is that you can interact with the data, that you can ask questions in plain, simple terms, right? And you get answers to it, and you get the reports back to it. You don't have to have a big IT staff there that builds you the next report, and you have to explain 4 or 5 times what exactly you wanted, right? And then you have to wait another week till they come back with a report or the changes to the report. So we wanted to cut this process of interaction with data and insights to the data way back. So that's really what we want to go next. But of course, small, medium-sized businesses, it will take them some time to adjust to it, to get used to it. So we want to take them on a journey.
Awesome. So with that, I know we're coming to the end of our session. I'd like to thank you both for sharing your thoughts with our listeners. I think one thing that really stands out from this conversation, it is very obvious on where SAP is heading with the analytics portfolio, right? And what customers should expect in the coming months and years, especially for small and medium-sized businesses. So with that, I'd like to wrap up our session. Thank you so much, both of you, for coming on and sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you for having us. It was a great pleasure and looking forward.
Yeah, it was a great pleasure. Thank you.
This two-part discussion with Torsten and Jason highlights how SAC in the Terms dashboard allows for all businesses to take advantage of ready-to-go content, design tools, and analytics without needing a lot of time or dedicated IT personnel.